The extended...
Now, one of the things the late President Mwai Kibaki will be remembered for is the free primary education he introduced in January of 2003. It was a second attempt to introduce it after the first in the 1970s that failed to achieve much. It was a noble idea whose implementation, however, failed, and until now it continues to face challenges including poor infrastructure and shortage of teachers. Shadrach Miti looks through Kibaki's education legacy.
January 6, 2003 will remain in Kenya's history as the day Kibaki's pre-election campaign promise of free primary education was rolled out. And as was expected, enrollment in public primary schools rose from 5.9 million learners in 2002 to 7.2 million learners in 2003 and 8.2 million learners in 2007. And ever since, the numbers have been rising, with the latest economic survey of 2021 indicating that by 2020, enrollment in primary schools stood at 10.2 million learners. Free primary education under Kibaki was the second attempt to introduce the program after the first attempt in the 70s failed to achieve much. While it was a good idea, its implementation was not well thought out. Nearly 2 decades after it was introduced, the program continues to face challenges, including poor infrastructure and shortage of teachers. In 2008, Kibaki would escalate the promise of free education to secondary schools after he undertook to provide free public secondary school tuition.
Elimu kwanza mwaka ujao. Elimu itafanya watoto wanaosoma mpaka wamalize primary wataweza kwenda secondary school wasome mwaka wa kwanza. Mwaka ujao watakuwa secondary school na hakuna malipo hapo. Na hiyo itakuwa ni uwezo wa kodi mnayotoa. Ninyi wenyewe wale ambao hawatoi ni wachache ambao wana uwezo lakini hawatoi. Hao wachache wewe usiwe na wasiwasi na usiwaonee huruma sana.
According to Kenya's latest economic survey report, total enrollment in primary schools stood at 10.2 million in 2020 from 10.1 million in 2019, while total enrollment in secondary schools recorded a growth of 8.0%. The government continues to provide capitation of 1,420 shillings for every learner in public primary school and 22,244 shillings to every student in public secondary schools.
We have no shortage of resources in our country. We're the 7th largest funder of education in the globe. Since free primary education started and free day secondary education, we have pumped over 300 billion shillings into the education sector. And we continue to put money in the education sector every day. The shortage we have in our sector is a shortage of honesty and integrity. That is the problem.
Yet, even with these milestones, a crowding and shortage of teachers in public schools continues to make teaching and learning a near impossibility. Estimates by the Teacher Service Commission (TSC) indicates there are about 50,000 fewer primary school teachers in the country, with majority of public primary schools suffering the effects of overpopulation. Education stakeholders have argued that while the move was well-intentioned, poor planning, inadequate teaching staff, and a shortage of learning facilities including classrooms and laboratories occasioned a decline in performance for public primary schools, which led to the emergence and rise of private primary schools, whose catchment were rich parents who wanted the best for their children. While to many, Kibaki was keen on increasing accessibility to education, stakeholders say he ran down the university sector. The late president issued charters to several mid-level colleges. And comparing him with his predecessor Daniel Moi, who in his 24 years of rule left behind just 6 universities of Nairobi, Kenyatta, Egerton, Moi, JKUAT and Maseno universities. In his 10-year rule, Kibaki had 21 fully-fledged universities. In the process, village polytechnics, which were popular with primary school dropouts, disappeared. Other casualties were teacher training colleges, farmers training institutes, and technical training colleges, which were all turned into universities. This, according to education experts, affected quality of degrees and crowded out technical and vocational education training, resulting in the shortage of skilled workers such as plumbers, welders, and carpenters. Shadrach Miti, KTN News.
You're still watching Weekend Prime. We do have more stories on the life and times of the late retired President Mwai Kibaki, Kenya's third president, who passed on today at the age of 90. Keep it KTN. We'll have more after this break.